The Kingdom of Belgium is a European nation of 11 million people, known for its beer, chocolate, and rich history. It's also known for being the de facto EU capital. However, Belgium has received noticeable international attention in recent years for having an extremely complex political system. Hopefully, in a few short minutes, I can explain why this is the case. Belgium became an independent country in the 1830s despite linguistic differences. The southern half of the nation, called Wallonia, spoke French, while the north half, or Flanders, spoke Dutch. These two regions lived with relatively little tension until the latter half of the 20th century. Why? Well, Flanders, the Dutch-speaking area of Belgium, became much wealthier than Wallonia, the French-speaking south. As a result, political parties in Belgium became centered on linguistic lines. For example, there exist conservative parties in Wallonia and separate conservative parties in Flanders. The same can be said for socialist parties. There's a socialist party in Flanders and a socialist party in Wallonia. This goes on to extend to the liberal parties and the green parties and so on and so forth. Now, it's important to remember that these political parties may share the same ideology, but they are separate from each other as they both seek to better their respective linguistic and regional communities. Now, as you can imagine, this results in messy coalition governments and elections in Belgium, where the winning party usually receives 15 to 25% of the vote in Belgian parliamentary elections. Moving on. Because of all this, Belgium is now divided into three regions: Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels. Flanders and Wallonia are monolingual, with Flanders being monolingual in Dutch and Wallonia being monolingual in French. Brussels, the capital of Belgium, is bilingual in both French and Dutch. Each region gets their own parliament. Now, the federal government deals with defense, justice, and public debt. The regions have control over many more things. Regional governments always have control over the economy, agriculture, water policy, housing policy, public works, energy, and many other important areas, which sounds pretty complicated. Well, it's about to get a lot more complicated. The Belgians decided that regions weren't enough, so three communities were created. Communities are strange because they may sound similar to regions, but they are very different and do not have a uniform policy. It should be noted that communities are linguistic communities. There exists a Flemish community, French community, and German community. Yes, German speakers have a presence in Belgium, in the eastern portion of the country. However, they make up a minority of the population. These communities exercise their abilities only within linguistically determined geographical boundaries. These abilities include control over a community's language, culture, education, social welfare, aid to families, immigrant assistance, and so on and so forth. While the Flemish community shares a parliament with the Flemish region, the Wallonian region has a parliament, as does the French community in Wallonia. Furthermore, the German-speaking community gets their own parliament despite not having their own region. Brussels lacks a community because it is bilingual and lacks its own parliament. Of course, a Belgian federal parliament also exists. Elections to the federal parliament generally happen every 4 years. After the 2010 parliamentary election, it took political parties 18 months to form a government. This is because, as stated before, there are political parties representing different linguistic and regional interests. There's a socialist party in Wallonia, a socialist party in Flanders, a liberal party in Wallonia, a liberal party in Flanders, and so on and so forth. And as mentioned before, each of these are separate political parties which don't always work together despite the fact that they may have similar ideologies. It's no wonder that after the 2014 parliamentary election, Charles Michel, the leader of the Movement Reform, a Francophone party, became prime minister despite garnering a little over 9% of the vote. That's weird that in a democracy like Belgium, the prime minister was elected with getting 9% of the votes. Ultimately, Belgium is a unique country with regional and linguistic tensions. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more explanatory videos. Thanks for watching.